Hello, I'm Chelmsford Town Manager Paul Cohen, and welcome to the August 2020 edition of the Town Managers Roundtable. And it really is a special edition. Normally, programs aren't taped during the summer, but we have two unique open space land opportunities that have come before the town and the Water District. And so we want to take an opportunity to present this information to you in advance of the August Water District special meeting and August 24th Chelmsford Town meeting. So we're joined today by Bob Delaney, the Superintendent of the Chelmsford Water District, and Colleen Stansfield, as usual, as our co-host today. So
how are you?
Welcome, Bob. And
welcome, Bob.
Thank you.
For many who may be familiar, there are two open space parcels that in the last few months have come up for sale. And they're both what's known as Chapter 61, which is open space agricultural properties, which means that the property owners who held those properties received a tax benefit in essence for holding the land in agricultural use. And part of that process is when they go to transfer the use of the property or to sell the property, and in this case it's a sale of each of the two properties, the town has the right of first refusal, and the town can assign its right of first refusal to another nonprofit entity or governmental entity, in this case the Chelmsford Water District. So if we go to our first slide, we'll reference what these two parcels are. It's the Warren Pohl property, which has almost over 53 acres off of Boston Road, and the Hennessy property, which is more commonly known as Misty Meadows Road, which has 41 acres of property. And we're going to start our discussion first with the Hennessy property. And why we have this graphic, we really want to show these are the two of the largest open space parcels in the community. As you can see, there aren't many left on that list. Obviously, the largest one is the Lowell Sportsman's Club, but that's an active use, and there's no foreseeable change in that property. But the Warren, Pohl, and Hennessy properties have been agriculturally utilized for years, and now, again, there's a proposal to change those uses, or in the case for the town meetings and the district meeting, to preserve those uses. So that's what we're here about. And then you can see, once you remove these two parcels, there really aren't many large open space tracts in town that are available for either open space preservation or, more importantly, and we'll hear shortly, for water supply. So with that, let's move on to the next slide, which is the Misty Meadows property. I have a photo from the edge of Misty Meadows. It's a 24-acre property. 24 Misty Meadows Road is the legal address for the property. It's 41 acres of land. It has frontage on Bridle Road and Pine Hill Road. And how this came about is the property owner, which was Hennessy, hence you saw it in the earlier slide, has signed a purchase and sale agreement for $950,000 to sell the property. And under that proposal, the land would be subdivided into a 6-home subdivision, which has already been approved by the planning board. So again, upon the bona fide sale and purchase and sale agreement, which is an arm's length transaction, the town gets notified a few months ago, and then the town evaluated it with the Community Preservation Committee, and during that evaluation process, the Chelmsford Water District stepped forward and said that they are very interested in the property for municipal well field purposes. So with that as a long-winded intro, we'll turn it over to Bob and really sort of take some time to explain the interest by the Water District.
Sure.
How we'll go forward.
Okay, thank you, Paul. So the Chelmsford Water District, when we got wind of the sale of this property and the fact that it was a 61A, approached the town manager in the town, and basically we had a strong interest in the parcel because the parcel's got a intermittent stream on it, and it's got a great resource for water. It's a huge parcel that leaves adequate distancing for us to have Zone 1 protection for water supply and wells, and be able to put a treatment plant in the facility where the barn presently is. So we looked at it and drew up all our specs on it, and came up with the thought that if there was any possible way that we could pursue purchasing this property, that we would contact the town. So we let the town know. The CPC had an opportunity, and they were, I guess evidently the owners were going to give them a portion of this property, 21 acres, which the Chelmsford Water District, in pursuing the purchase of this, will still leave this open space and recreation for the town. The other great caveat about this parcel is that the intermittent stream feeds into the Beaver Brook, which runs down into what's our Concord Basin. It's our permitted water volume with the DEP, and we have 2 million gallons of water that we can take from the Concord Basin.
This is the Concord River Basin.
Concord River Basin, correct. And so with that, we will be able to put adequate additional supply in the future for the town's economical growth and development that's taken place from the center of the town out towards the 129 corridor. So I think it works out well for both the Chelmsford Water District and for the town as a whole, that we have this ability to supply the additional water and resource. And from all testing that we've done, the water supply is extremely good in water quality.
And I wanted to say that with the subdivision that was approved through the planning board, the town was going to get 21 acres or 26?
Yeah, somewhere.
Somewhere around that.
Which were unbuildable acres. They were
Right,
wet, yeah,
right, for wildlife sanctuary,
Refuge,
refuge, whatever. But yeah, so the town wasn't all that interested because everybody thought we were going to get those anyway. You
Correct.
know what I mean? Why spend the money? But luckily you came forward and did your testing real quick. How did that go?
So far, we've done, Mark Stotts was able to allow us to take a sample from his present well, and everything went very well with those tests. We just got them back today. And so the water itself is absolutely fine. We'll do a 21E, a short phase 1 of that property, but we don't foresee any issues or any problems with that. It was agricultural, herbicides, pesticides, things like that. But I'm not expecting anything that's going to be out of the realm for the water district. And with that, we're going to move forward with a special meeting ourselves on August the 17th to have our water takers vote for the board to approve the
Spend the money.
expense to pay for the
What
property.
it's all about.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, and there's 2 things to point out. One is if the district does acquires the property, there will be no subdivision of homes there.
Right, you get
And the reason is, and you can explain it, the area that you would locate the wells is the area where the subdivision would go.
A good portion of it, yes, and obviously if the subdivision had gone through and there was a little bit of area to the south of that, to Henry's property, we still would not be able to do it because we would not have zone 1 protection with the houses in there, so, yep. So the majority of it, you're absolutely correct, that the wells will be situated within that 400-foot
Right.
area.
Yeah,
where the
because,
homes would be.
yeah, and I know Colleen sat through the planning board meetings in this. There was a bit of a contentious subdivision with the Bridle Path neighborhood.
Yes, and the amount of fill that was coming in, you know, the trucking and all that stuff, the neighborhood was up in arms. You know, so this is a good thing for everybody.
And that was another thing that we thought of when we put the plan together, is that the infrastructure and the utilities won't come through Bridle. So Bridle won't be opened back up as the road that it is now. So, and there's still the tree protection there. So the facility itself will be, everything will be trucked in or brought in through Pine Hill and Misty Meadows Road.
And you're going to build that out.
We'll build that out. We'll have
There's no sewer down there right now.
no sewer, so we'll have sewer. We're going to need for the treatment plant just for bathrooms, and we will tie in Mr. Stotts and the other home that's back there. This goes to Hostler right now with water, but we will tie them in with the sewer. We'll have to bring 3-phase power down there.
And this will be open land for people to use as well.
Correct. Yeah, there'll be room. We'll have to put spacing up there for parking and maintain that area. And I guess the town will probably have trails put in there at some point and stuff. But yeah, it'll be open for that area. It's you can be in zone 1 and recreational. The 2 wells that are potential well spots that we haven't proposed would only need a 30 by 30 fence around the buildings themselves, so that's the only area that would be totally fenced. Other than
42 acres, that's a
yes, 41.
dot.
It's absolutely perfect. You know.
Right, and then and there would be a treatment plant, as you mentioned, but that would be looking like a
You keep saying barn.
Barn, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
actually.
a barn-like structure.
Yeah, barns.
to
Actually,
avoid
the town of Westford does have, they have one that looks just like a barn.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so,
And then that's not a huge facility either in terms of a structure.
right.
So again, when you see the land, it'll be preserved mostly as open space.
correct.
And you said the public will be able to traverse on the land to do trails and so forth. So again, the Conservation Commission, their initial interest sort of gets confirmed as well because the land that's was to be earmarked under the subdivision will be preserved anyway because it's not developable. In fact, you couldn't
Right.
even use trails out there because it's so wet.
Right.
So
Which makes it perfect for the water district.
Makes it perfect for the water district, right. So it's sort of a win-win all around. And then the town, in its examination by the Community Preservation Committee, the town did an independent appraisal, and it came back that the value for the purchase and sale agreement was right on the mark. I mean, the appraisal came back at $1 million. The acquisition price was, $950. So it's right there. And then you're going to ask for a little additional money for the development.
Yeah, for the-
So I think it's $1
yes.
million. That's what you're looking for a total.
Another $500,000. So,
Another half,
yeah,
yeah.
million is what we're looking for at our meeting. Yes.
Yeah, so and yours is a virtual water district meeting, right?
Correct, yeah.
On
Will have
Wednesday, the 19th at 7
o'clock.
7 p.m. And anyone who's a water district user is allowed to go in and participate in that meeting.
That's correct.
So that's exciting. I mean, like I said, it's water is a resource, and I think anyone recognizing this going forward in any community, water is a valuable resource going into the foreseeable future. And as we noted in the intro, there aren't many open space parcels available, so this sort of provides a good opportunity to acquire by the district a water resource
Yeah, it's
that
available on the site.
would be there for, as you said, for potential future needs, but again, would be lost if there were a subdivision built upon it, it wouldn't be viable. And so it's a good, and my understanding is the water district won't be doing a borrowing for this property. They'll do it from their retained cash earnings, and therefore there won't be any impact to water rates
Yep.
For this acquisition.
Absolutely correct, yeah.
So that's
But you will have to borrow for the treatment plant.
Well, yes, when that,
Yes.
that day comes, yes. But
that's down the road.
But that's down the road, and by then, the bond's up on the River Neck treatment plant. That'll
good.
It's 20 years out, so, the
When
impact,
is that up?
2023, I believe.
Okay.
So maybe you can sort of describe the process, how it works. I mean, obviously, the first thing you do is get the water district special meeting approval, and then, as you said, you acquire title to the property. And then how does one go and develop a well field in terms of timeline and
Well,
process?
first we have to go through DEP and make, DEP's got to give us the approval for us to use this as a water supply. And then we'll have to put in some test wells, and the test wells will be done, and then test well sampling will be taken out, and those results will be submitted to the DEP to say this is what's on the site, this is what the site has potential for water, what they'll allow us to supply. That's where we're going to put in the intent is to put in 2 wells. That way, when the time comes and you have to clean one, you still got the other in use and you got the plant still running.
And what type of yield do you get out of a well like that, a municipal well?
Well,
generally,
generally we'd look for 500 gallons a minute out of each one or something like that. So depending on what we'll get from DEP on that, based on the Concord Basin, you could be looking at probably getting a safe yield of 400 gallons a minute out of each one of them. That gets you better than 1 million gallons a day,
Wow.
which more than satisfies the needs for what we have on the other side, and supplements when the other treatment plants need service and work.
right.
Now we can
And-
take the
and you
River
re-
Neck.
and sometimes you rest well fields as well, right?
Exactly, and that's the other point that we've all seen there with the drought. Everyone complained that there's no water, or, no rain, and even when we get rain, the water table's down so low it puts great stress on the wells that we have existing that they need to be cleaned more frequently. So when you get to clean them, you take them offline. They're offline for a week and a half, 2 weeks, and sometimes expenses because they're clogged cost you more money for pumps and motors. So by having more available to you, it saves on total cost for operation year by year.
Absolutely.
So-
Now, you had recently looked at another field for another parcel for a well field, and that didn't pan out.
Yeah, we were up, the Water District back in '89 purchased the Barnes Terrace property up there. And again, this was back prior to water treatment plants. And it's a small little
Yeah.
stamp of a parcel. And back in 2001, the commissioners all agreed that all water would be treated. So Chelmsford went forward as being one of the first to take away from just taking a well and pumping it out to the customer. Put the treatment plants in, the river neck treatment plant, a green sand filter.
And now that's required.
It's required by a lot of them. There's still small communities and towns that don't have a source to have the treatment. So Barnes Terrace was a small staple that would have required a treatment plant after the 2001 thing. So they kind of walked away from that because in 2003, it became evident that we should start, and the commissioners put their money in the basket for treatment plants at River Neck and Crooked Spring, high and low system sides. So we went away from it. And again, we're back to the source. Do we need more water? So we reinvestigated and relooked at Barnes Terrace. Had plans to do it, but we would have needed a parcel of land additional for a treatment plant.
And that
So
was-
we were in the process of doing it with the owner, and had test wells try to bore for them and ran into ledge and problems. And it would have been a well field because it was small. We didn't have what we have here at
Right.
Misty Meadows. We didn't have 400 foot of Zone 1 protection. So we had to put what was called a well field. We only need 250 feet. The unfortunate part is you can't go as deep. And we hit the ledge, and then it came to the point, like, cost-wise, it wasn't feasible for what we could get for yield out of there to make it worthwhile to spend the kind of money that would need to be spent for a treatment plant.
I can imagine how you all felt when that didn't pan out for you, and then this were to come up.
This came right on the heels of the excitement. It's really a
I'm
great thing. for
surprised the
district.
owners didn't come to you first even, or to the town first before the development went through. I mean,
Well, but at least this way they tested the market. I mean, because that's always the
That's
thing.
true.
And we'll sort of now segue towards the Warren Pohl property because, here's a case where the owner did come to the town.
Right.
The Warren family, which has held this property for, longer than there's been a country.
I think it was deeded by the
It's
king.
deeded by the king. So, which is the street address for the Warren Pohl is 95 Boston Road. And that's 54 acres in total because there's one large parcel and two smaller parcels. And the amazing part about Warren Pohl, and you can see the visual, it's a beautiful property, but it's got frontage on 6 streets. Acton Road, Bartlett Street, Boston Road, Fay Street, Hall Road, and Parker Road. And the one that most people are familiar with Parker Road is it's right across from the Wright Reservation.
Right.
And so, there's, and here's a case where, again, the property owners were interested in conveying the property, sort of dealing with their estate issues and so forth. And same thing here. In this case, where there wasn't a bona fide sale, private market purchase and sale agreement, the town went out and did 2 professional appraisals, both of which were based upon the fact that you could do a 7-lot subdivision, as shown on the screen there, off of Bartlett Street, which again would get you the value similar to what you saw at the Misty Meadows property off of Bridle Path. So what the appraisers do is they value what are the house lots selling, in the year 2020. What's it cost to build the subdivision road? The market it, engineer it, and so forth. And this one would have had to go to the planning board for approval, but again, they came, to the town, and in this case, we had 2 appraisals done, and much like any other unique property, in this case a 52-acre parcel, the appraisals differed. One appraisal came in at $1 million, the other one came in at $1.3 million, and so the parties split the difference. And you say, well, why not get a third appraisal? Because honestly, if you did a third appraisal, you'd probably get a third value. Because appraisal, like everything else, is science, but it's also a bit of an art.
Right.
And they produce significant reports, and when one goes and previews all the details, you can see the methodology. And so again, the acquisition price to be paid to the owners would be $1.15 million. Again, the town would add $50,000 for related costs because
The restriction and all
you
that.
have to put a preservation restriction on. You have to do a baseline survey that's recorded, so that way, in perpetuity, it's understood what the nature of the property
I also
is.
heard you were doing an inventory of the land as well.
Yeah, and that's what that
so-
baseline survey is.
Okay.
In the past, when the town acquired Sheehan Farm and Sunny Meadow Farm, we used the Audubon Society. And they come in and they do a perimeter survey and then basically walk the entire property and take photos and record and produce a document that demonstrates, as you can imagine, you have aerial photography and so forth that demonstrates what's the condition of the property. So that way, if something were to transpire, that's not natural, obviously, that there'd be no doubt of what was the condition of the property, and that way. And then what happens is a third party an independent party, and this is in the case of both Misty Meadows and Warren Pohl, holds the preservation restriction. And therefore, therefore, there's an independent party, usually a nonprofit, who then has the means to enforce the restriction. So, let's say the town wanted to go out there and do something that wasn't consistent with open space preservation, then they would have the right and standing to legally take action to remedy the situation.
Gotcha.
So, and that's required under the community preservation law. And the beauty of that is it's meant to preserve a deeded restriction, much like if somebody were to leave a deeded property to the town for whatever purpose, it's a
Right.
legal obligation. Again, and why Bob's here is fortuitous is, again, here's a property that has walking trails, has been farmed, in most recent years has been hayed,
yeah.
for agricultural use. But also, it is wet, and I'll go to Bob again. The water district has interest in this property, in the event again is another potential site down the road, in the indefinite future. I mean, Chelmsford's been around for 365 years, so if at some point in the future there's a need for a water source, then what we would do is we would allow that in the restriction and in the acquisition vote, so that if some future date, probably when we're all long gone and retired, that would allow that type of a use, because again, it's not incompatible as Bob just described for.
So that part of putting a well or two has to be in the preservation restriction.
Restriction has to be in it.
Is it also in the, I know in the motions for
Yeah, it will be.
CPC, it was
It will
made
be.
that way
Yeah.
as well?
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, if you could just talk about the water district had interest there.
Well, we wanted to make sure that since, again, there's not that much water available left in the town.
Right.
Many
And
large
see-
parcels, yeah.
And parcels, and seeing that there are two areas there that are have potential for water, that we would, again, it's a smaller stamp, again, like the Barnes Terrace one. It'll
Right.
be a well field, and it would, from there, they'd be pumped like a regular well, and they'd have to go to one of the treatment plants. So it's a little bit longer shot at doing it, but you just put in a raw water line from there down Warren Ave to the Turnpike and take it to the River Neck treatment plant, and then from there it would be treated and water would go back out with the remaining wells that it has. Yeah. So it has a potential, but again, why not put it on there if we know that, you never know with water.
Yeah, keep your options open.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
provides
great.
insurance for the future, for the
That's
water district and the users of the town as a whole.
Right.
And money-wise, this is coming from CPC.
Yep, Community Preservation Fund, and in fact, if Pete's got a slide that shows how are we gonna pay for this, and once again, there won't be any impact on the property tax bills, because there's the existing debt service for the Community Preservation Fund. As you can see, the Town Hall project, this will be paid off this current fiscal year that we're in now, and so that $272,000 goes off the books for that $2.8 million bond that was back from a decade ago when the North Town Hall and the Center Town Hall were renovated. So you're losing $272,000 off the books in terms of annual debt service under the Community Preservation Fund, and the next slide shows you the annual debt service, which the first year is a maximum of $145,800. So basically what happens is unlike a home mortgage, the town borrows by level principal. So you pay a 10-year period, you take the 1.2 million, you divide it by 10 to 120,000, and then you pay interest, and your interest goes down as your principal goes down, and therefore your debt service goes down annually. And we're using a conservative 2% interest rate, which for nonprofits like the town and water districts and others is actually less than that, but we always want to give an upside. So the good news is this land will be acquired through the Community Preservation Fund, and again, there'll be no impact on the tax levy, tax rate. It's not tax dollars. It's not monies that could be used for
Something
services such as education or public safety and so forth. And then we just show the last slide that shows the date of the special town meeting in Chelmsford. It's on Monday, August 24th at 7:30 p.m. And this time it's going to be in the Chelmsford High School Performing Arts Center. It's the only article on the warrant. So don't get there late because there's just the one article. The good news is that facility is air conditioned. And again, the request will be for the $1.2 million borrowing in total. So with that, that sort of is the two unique land opportunities for the town this summer, and really unique opportunity. I don't know, there's ever been a history where the town and the water district acquired two significant parcels simultaneously. But I want to thank you, Bob, for joining us this month, and thank you, Colleen, for co-hosting.
thank you.
Thank you
And
for having me.
And
what a
please-
great thing for the town. town, these two parcels.
Exactly. So please, everybody, come out and participate in the Water District meeting if you're a user, and also the town meeting. Thank you.